So I want to thank everybody for joining us on this very cold January morning. This is our first TA training for 2025. And as you've probably noticed, we are switching it up a little bit and doing a different time frame in 2025. This was based off of a survey that we did late last year. If anybody did not receive it or see it and is confused as to why we're meeting at 10 a.m. But based off of that survey, people were asking for morning time instead of afternoon. So I'm going to pass it over to TJ Curtis, who is our family training coordinator at Families Together, and he is going to get started with you.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this workshop that we've been working on. And we will be going over FPAs facilitating workshops. Let's do this. Screen. Can everyone see my screen? All right. So
You're good, TJ.
So today we're going to go over what it is for an FPA to facilitate a workshop. And the description is FPAs play a crucial role in facilitating workshops for parents by providing a supportive and empathetic environment where parents can learn, share, and grow. These workshops are often designed to address specific needs and challenges that parents face in supporting their children, particularly those with mental health or behavioral needs or issues. FPAs draw from their lived experience to offer practical advice, coping strategies, and fostering a sense of community amongst participants. Their unique perspective helps bridge the gap between professionals and families, empowering parents to become more effective advocates for their children and their well-being. So this purpose was to help us presenting workshops for FPAs to empower parents by providing them with knowledge, tools, and supportive needs to navigate the complexities of raising children with mental health or behavioral challenges. By sharing their personal experiences and expertise, FPAs create a relatable and encouraging atmosphere that fosters open dialogue, mutual learning amongst parents. These workshops aim to build the FPA skills as well in developing tools, strategies to help support parents, families with confidence, demonstrating their ability to advocate for their children's needs by connecting them with valuable resources and in strengthening overall capacity to manage family dynamics effectively. Ultimately, this goal is to enhance the well-being of both parents and their children, promoting positive outcomes for the entire family. So we will be going over family peer advocates, the definition and the roles, the importance of our lived experience in this role, and knowing the difference between a workshop and a support group, and the purpose of workshops addressing specific needs of parents and families, building communities and support networks, and to develop our workshop building and presenting skills. So I always like to start off with these questions because there's some people who are new to their position. What is an FPA? Anybody have an answer for me? You could come off. I really want this to kind of be interactive.
Family peer advocate.
And what does that mean? What is a family peer advocate?
I'm someone with lived experience.
Very true. Anybody else?
A person who advocates on behalf of a family and with a family.
Exactly. And that's kind of leading into the next one. What is the role?
Sharing experience that we can understand other parents' frustration.
I agree with that. And what is not the role of an FPA?
Who fixes their problem.
Sorry, there's two people at once.
An FPA isn't someone who fixes the problem.
Yep, they do not fix the problems. Anything else?
We shouldn't,
And not to judge other people.
Yep, not the judge. Go on, Teresa.
we shouldn't tell anyone what they should do.
Yep.
Uh,
Ultimately,
I was just going to say, remembering that boundary that we're not like their best friend, we are still professionals.
very true. I've actually heard opposite before. Someone said, "Oh yeah, it's our job to be their friends." No, that's when we start having boundaries issues, and we need to make sure that we don't cross those. All right. So before we move on we're going to break this down. We're going to throw a poll in the chat for our records to see who's participating and where you're from. And I will put that up now.
I got it, TJ.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna launch a poll. There's just 2 questions. We're just looking to see who joined us and where you're joining us from. So if you could take just a moment, it should pop up on your screen and answer these 2 questions for us. That would be very helpful. You have just a few more seconds. I see a few more people are filling it out.
Almost there, just a couple more.
All right, is anybody in the middle of doing it? Okay, I'm going to end the poll.
All right.
And let's see. So it looks like we have the majority of FPAs. We have an FPA supervisor who does not hold the credential. Thank you for joining us. We have another peer role. Thank you for joining us. We have a state employee who also holds the FPA credential, and we have one other. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For those who put the other peer role or the other role, if you wouldn't mind putting what your role is in the chat, we'd love to hear what your role is. Okay, and back to our training.
So what we want to, I think that sometimes what we come across is the difference between a workshop and a support group, and often those lines can be misconstrued. So what is a workshop? So it's a structured learning experience designed to provide participants with tools, skills, knowledge that address specific challenges or to enhance personal and professional growth. They often include interactive activities, expert-led discussions, and practical applications to empower individuals with actionable strategies. For example, a workshop on stress management might teach mindfulness techniques, relaxation exercises, time management tools to help attendees reduce and manage stress effectively. So our support groups are a safe, inclusive space where individuals with shared experiences come together to provide and receive emotional, social, and practical supports. They foster connections through storytelling, empathy, and mutual encouragement, helping participants feel understood, less isolated. For instance, a grief support group allows members to share their journeys of loss, exchanging coping strategies, and find solace in a community that truly understands their struggles. So just you could do a show of hands, and then if you're ready, that can come off or type in the chat. If you ever done a workshop and or a support group, and you feel comfortable, what positives and what was positive about it, and what were your potential outliers that you may have faced trying to conduct one of these?
I just started parental support groups and I love it. It has been amazing. So I first handpicked off of my caseload moms of daughters because daughters are not for the faint of heart. And they just gelled so well. And they feed, like, not feed off each other in a good way, though. Like, one mom's like, tell me your bedtime routines, please, because I'm really struggling. And then they shared, and then she was able to share at the next one how her son is autistic. And she used like their idea and turned it into using pictures to help him with his bedtime routine. And they really shared, we also have a clinical specialist that I have that I partner with, and she comes on as well to give that kind of other support because they really shared their backgrounds with each other and they look forward to it. Like when I see them individually, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I like count down my days till I get to group because I can't wait to see the girls." So they really like find, because I tell them all, like, parenting is hard when, your friends don't understand your struggles that you're going through, where a lot of you all go through the same struggles. And it has been really, I also have a dad's group, but they make me work harder for my money. They definitely make it so we had to find common ground. Of course, I'm the only sports person, and I was like, oh goodness, I thought I could like start this off with sports talk, and I couldn't. So, but we did talk about how trades are lost on today's youth. And they were really able to like come together and talk about that, or how they're older. Some of them were older parents, and how like technology affects today's youth. And
Mhm.
it's been a really positive experience.
And just before I pick someone else, but I know you said it was harder to start working with the fathers at first. Was there a particular outlier situation that made any either or group difficult to start, or in the middle you found a bump that you don't mind sharing?
No, it's been, besides trying to find a common topic with the dads was a little bit harder, but I find it better if I come in like the one that I have with the clinical specialist, her and I chat like 15 minutes before, and we come up with things that were, it's structured but unstructured. Like I give them time to talk to each other, but we also
Mhm.
have topics like we talked about women's health, and like checked in of, they all checked in of like how much as a mom you never really take care of yourself, and how important it is to have those certain yearly or bi-yearly or whatever testing done, or the same thing, we're going to do men's health next, because I haven't been able to do that with the dads yet, because then I was out sick this week. But no, not anything like that, except trying to find, like a commonality with the dads, because the moms were just so much easier, because I think by nature women are so much more open to share. So you got one mom started, because you always have like the two or three that are really, it's a group of 8. So you always have the two that are always like super talkative, and the other ones, but that's another thing, is then getting the other ones to kind of contribute. I kind of like gently call them out, or will be like, hey, so what are your thoughts on this?
Mhm.
So that they feel comfortable with sharing and have the opportunity to share as well.
Thank you for sharing that. So
Can I ask,
Tamara
I'm sorry,
first?
can I just ask Nicole a question?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Nicole, do you do it virtually, in person? Do you alternate?
So right now is virtually, because I service 3 counties, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint like one central location. My goal is I really want to do in person.
Thank you.
Tamara?
Yes. I had a support group. It's been for a year, and my other team, we both followed it. It was good, but now he's not there. And I try not to take it personal. It's kind of tough right now. They not. I don't understand right now. It's like I know these parents need so much support, but they're not coming in the group, and it's very frustrating for me because I really want to help them, And it's like I already explained my role. They still telling my other team. So I told my team, just kind of remind them, tap them, say, listen to my with your family peer advocate. She's trying to reach you guys, and support group has so much. I have so much to share because I've been in the same boat, So I would like some ideas, tips, advice for you guys to give me because I like support group because I've been doing it for deaf people. Now I'm in a hearing group, and I try not to take personal. I feel like they don't want to take the knowledge or help from me because I'm deaf. I don't know. I don't want to take personal, but I'm struggling with it right now.
All right, I can
That's
see.
what I'm facing. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. Our last is Kiosha, if I hope I said your name right.
Yes, so I was going to say the same thing as Tamara. My struggle is getting the parents to actually show up. So, I offer them in person as well as virtually. And for the most part, parents don't show up. So I don't know what type of motivator I should use. And my parents, I am a peer advocate for a residential facility. So all of our children are involved in the criminal justice system. So um that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of families we are serving. So it's like that is my biggest struggle.
I understand, and I actually had that issue a while back when I was in that same position as an FPA. Times have definitely changed from the past 10 years to where we are now, where I believe 10 years ago, families, parents were more willing to show up physically, and they were led by the incentives of whether it was a Metro card and food or, also possible other gifts, if you will, to entice them to come and learn and want to participate. And it's really just trying to find a niche, as you said, to find that person or that topic that will get them to at least show up, maybe even virtually, because even virtually is, one of the hardest. You're at home, why not? And it's still one of those hard things. Thank you for sharing that. We will definitely try and touch, and hopefully we could share what might have been working for us in the past. So, what ways do you come up with your topics? Anybody want to share, like, kind of how do you? I mean, Nicole did speak that Nicole meets with her supervisor or to come up with questions and open-ended questions or topics of discussion to bring to each group. Anybody else have a way that they, Kristen?
Yeah, I first want to say that I'm really appreciative of this because I also work at a residential facility, and I have been wondering, we've been trying to go back and forth. Do our parents need a workshop, or do they need a support group, or do they need both? And I think they're already involved in so much when it comes to their children's care that we don't want to burden them with another appointment or another thing that they have to try to remember, even though it would be helpful for them.
Mhm.
But so we're in the middle of what I would call developing a support workshop where we're going to find a topic to present to them, but then at the end of that time period, also give them a period of time to just use the end of the session as a support group. And the reason we're doing that is because we're finding that a lot of parents have a lot of the same types of questions about our programs or about what happens when discharge is coming up or how, just the different things that we do inside of the program. So our support group is specifically going to be for these parents that have children in treatment with us, and we're going to pick a topic each time. And then after that is over, we're going to do a little bit of support group at the end. So I appreciate this training, but the way we're coming up with the topics is the questions that the parents ask us. And we find that parents are asking a lot of the same questions. So we need to educate them about very specific pieces of our program and how it's designed and how it's supposed to flow and how it will help them and things like that. And then making sure that they're getting the skills as parents that we're teaching the children in the facility.
Yeah, so it seems that you have you're going to need a few uh, because not only do you need support groups, now you need to figure out what workshops are the most important to start off with and try and develop those, and then of course more importantly have them show up. So I always said, at least for me, it was research a topic of interest. We've all walked in some form of light. This is why we're here. We've dealt with stuff, we've overcome stuff, we're still working through stuff. What is of interest to you? What would have been good for you to have when you were coming up, or maybe a parallel for a parent that was in the same situation you were in, and it kind of could mirror something you're interested in what got them here, right? So, what is of interest to you? One thing that we started to do, informal or formal surveys, right? So sometimes we reach out to our FPAs and, hey, what is your topic of interest? What would you like to know more of? What are you not getting? Let's tally these up. Let's get a consensus, right? So the most developed or the most numbers that you have for specific topics should be your lead. It doesn't mean that once this is done, it is over, because times change. We should revise it and be able to bring it forward again in the near future or later future. So again, what is important to you now? Now this is more specific, right? Something that mattered to you, you didn't get. For me, as a foster child and then a person who dealt with anxiety, there wasn't much being taught for young men. So what came up helped me start developing stuff was, how do I engage men? And I started working on my own and developed my own men's group. It's virtual, of course, but it gives us a safe place to talk, communicate, and provide additional resources if needed. So that was important to me, because especially with the suicide rate in men going up sky high as of late, it bothered me. So that's why it's become a passion of mine. And as other people said here, ask families what they would like to learn. Your families as a whole are going to be, whether it's your individualized or in your previous group, existing groups, what would you like to learn about? Do you want more for certification purposes to help develop your training and teaching skills, parenting skills? Or do you just need to be a part of something where you know you're not alone and you all can lead the group in the way that you want to, and have the topics that is necessary for you to feel unified and more community? All right. Make your questions brief because we got a few slides to go through. Teresa was first.
Thank you. I can't find where I raised my hand on the computer. So I was wondering, my program is an 8 to 12 week. I work with crisis. So I was wondering if anybody had any suggestions, and now, I don't want to bring it into something else when you need to move on, with anything that I may be able to do, since it's such a short program, because it sounds
Definitely
really interesting.
type it into the chat for Teresa, or ping her privately, and we'll see if we get to this point. All right, Tamara.
Yeah, I'm happy that you bring that up, because I just did one client one-on-one, because it's more focusing, and me and the client, we could relate it. But I feel so good because I can get more information with her. Now she's working with me, That's why I need more something, because she's Spanish.
Mhm.
I have a Spanish interpreter, and it helped me so great, because now I can work with her. But I still need to work with my other group, English. It's difficult.
Yep. All right, Kristen. All right, we'll go to Maria.
Yes, good morning. My name is Maria, and I currently work in a hospital emergency psych unit. I've been here since April 24, and to date, I have not had an active case. I've been worked around, and I need to know, how do I get involved in the treatment team meetings, and how do I'm the only family peer advocate and CPS as well, and I'm here full time, but I've been excluded, not included in discharge planning. So how should I attack this?
All right, so real fast, because I've worked in a psych unit as an FPA and OIPA in my younger years. Most importantly, I would have tried to partner with the parents. And once the parents are utilizing you or communicating with you, have them voice, and you will be with them to the clinicians and to the rest of the team that you need to be present in order to help support the family the best way that you can. And that way, the parents, once again, because what is our role? Our families need to be driving, and ask your parents, do you need me there? I believe I can support you with A, B, and C. I want to make sure this is comfortable and that you understand what's going on, and maybe that's your child. Just show that you are there. Your ears are open. It's non-judgmental, and the objective families are driving for their goals. And your job is just to help guide them, supply the resources that they might need to get there. And eventually, the clinicians or the rest of the team has to abide by what the family wants. And if they don't, these are legal issues that can be, because they're being excluded and information can be withheld, or they can they can feel like they're being pushed into making decisions that they either don't understand or don't want to do. So support your families, ask these questions, and tell them, when's the next meeting? Would you like me to be there? And see what you just got to follow the lead of the family. So as you said, what is the need? Lastly, where is the need or wants of the topic coming from? And once again, this is all going to tie into not just ourselves, but what we are hearing from the families we're working with. And that we should never come from left field. It should come from the work that we are doing, the situations we are seeing happening or not happening, and ask, is this important to you? You might have to spit out some ideas to kind of get their gears thinking, because once again, when somebody brought up, when families are going through stuff with their families, they might not be taking care of themselves, and they might not be aware of what's going on out there, or what services are out there, and what supports they actually did need, and they couldn't think about it. Because me as a parent, I always say my family's first. I don't know if that's wrong to say, but I know if I don't have myself together, there's no way I'm helping anybody else. And I think that's just an innate response to when situations arise. We want to protect our children the best way we can, and we forget about ourselves. So as we to kind of continue, how do we create it, right? So engage our families through surveys by the use of informal surveys, casual conversations and check-ins. Hey, how's it going? What's going on today? How are you feeling? Did you do any of your self-care? And just you can start picking things up. Hey, do you think this would be a good idea for us to develop? Maybe you want to help me a workshop to help other parents who might be in your predicament or situation. So examples, example questions: what are challenges are you currently facing as a caregiver? You might have to break that down, because they might not see it as a challenge. They might see that as something else. What skills or resources do you feel would help you right now? Most families who come in these doors are never asked these questions, so they don't know. And what topics would you like more information about? What tools can be utilized to help make you the best of you that you can be? Give it ownership. I'm just here to supply the resources. If I don't have it, I will point you in the right direction. So ask them directly. Do not be afraid. Your passions could be somebody else's passions. Your need to educate somebody on specific topics could be a need that these families want and they're afraid to ask for or don't even know how to ask the right questions. So, as we said, during support groups or one-on-ones, we're going to ask the families and explore that. We're going to encourage them to share gaps in knowledge or areas that they feel unsupported in. Some might feel embarrassed they haven't finished high school. Some might feel embarrassed just because you might have a master's or a PhD and they just have high school or just maybe a BA, and that you're the professional and you know what I need. Families know what they need, but they might be intimidated. And listen for recurring themes or requests that can help inform your workshop focus. If everyone's saying the same thing, or majority of people saying the same or similar things in these meetings, in these groups, or in your individual sessions, you might have something there. And then I heard a lot of people saying this in the past. Do you think this would be a good idea? Right. So we want to reinforce that they're in charge and that we're not going to just throw unnecessary information at them that has nothing to do with them. So we want to match the content to specific needs. So they have to align with the challenges and goals of the individuals or the families. Just a couple of examples, the IEP situation, most families have a hard time requesting IEPs because they believe the school is seeing the child more. They should know that my child needs help. No, it's actually us. We have to voice this. Otherwise, the schools will just keep funneling them through. And, you might have that good teacher that sees something and talks to the parent, but more often than not, that's not going on. If burnout is a common concern, create a workshop on self-care or stress management for caregivers. That seems to be the big. Most people don't even know they need self-care or that they are burnt out. They're running on fumes. And ensure relevance and accessibility. How are we going to do this? It's important. Avoid overly technical language. Keep the jargon out. We meet our families where they are, and it doesn't mean they're not educated, but the English language is complicated, and so many words can mean the same thing, or one word could sound like it means something, it's completely something different. Let's cater to our families and make sure they're not embarrassed because people will shut down if we're using the wrong language. And then, most importantly, I believe is include a real life example. I like role playing exercises. If a family confronts you with a burnt out situation, or how do I talk to a provider about this for my child? Role play. Somebody be the provider, somebody be the parent, or how did it go last time, and what was the response, and then you bring this out. Or you want to integrate elements to the workshop that's engaging and meaningful. So in your workshops, especially in person, it's great. We can still do it here, but in person, I believe it's more heartfelt and meaningful if our role plays or our engagements are in front of everybody. They can feel the energy in the room. They can see what they can feel the frustration if it's there. They can feel the success because they understand it now, and it becomes a chain reaction. So we start growing and healing together. So lastly, test the topic, right? Before considering piloting this idea, let's converse with our supervisors. Let's talk to our families as a collective, whether it's in a group setting or individualized, kind of take a tally on your own. And that way, with the feedback, so I had this idea. This is the purpose. What do you think? And that should be your route to start beginning to plant this seed and develop your workshop. So tips for planning a successful presentation. So our presentation logistics. Location is important, whether it's going to be virtual, is it accessible? Let's figure this out. Determine how long the presentation will last. Most people have a span of maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then they need a break. If there's going to be food provided, that's going to determine your length of time and how you're going to break it out. Select the time of day. It's important. Mornings, afternoons, evenings, what day. People are more accessible in certain parts. So that's avoided scheduling during dinner time, if at all possible, unless you're going to provide dinner. Or let's prevent when obligations for the family are high. They might be having sport activities, therapy activities. You should be aware by now, after a few sessions, a couple of weeks with their families, you should have an idea of our time constraints with these families and what they're doing and what they're not doing. And then, again, choose appropriate day of the week based on the availability of your participants. As I touched on earlier, meals and refreshments, that used to be my ticket in to getting families and youth, especially on a Friday evening, and MetroCard too. Um, if you can, plan out the budget, run it with your supervisor, see if it's something you could do. Then you might have to take an extra step, make sure that we're aware of allergies with our families if it's in person. The workshop length and engagement. We don't want to talk at our families for too long. That's why I always say trying to have questions or interactive activities or group discussions. People get antsy and people might not want to sit there for too long. And then again, use previous surveys to gather participant preferences regarding time and duration. Ask all these questions is really important. So I just wanted we're not going to really take 5 minutes. We're going to raise some hands. Does anybody actually have an activity or a workshop that they were thinking about? And just one or two people briefly, would you mind sharing? If not, it is completely fine. Because I think for time constraint, we might not have. Ramon? Oh,
Sorry, I unmuted by accident, but I can go.
oh, sure.
A topic I would choose is, are you getting your IP services in school? And
And what, mhm.
the reason why I chose it, because a lot of the parents that I come across or that I speak to, that is their number one issue, is that their child is not receiving their services, or there's no provider available. There's just lots of reasons why someone isn't receiving their services in school. The demographic would be the parents of the children not receiving the services, the audience the same, and the purpose is to figure out solutions and how this can be brought on a wide scale to the attention of the DOE and the providers.
Thank you for sharing that. But I also want to keep in mind, let's not keep out providers from these things, because a lot of the time, providers, especially clinicians, we're taught. I'm in school to be a clinician. I'm going to say we are not taught to share our lived experiences, and therefore, how you're taught to work with people is one way, and there's room for growth, if you will, but a lot of them aren't introduced or are a part with the FPAs on these levels who are participating in these trainings. But maybe if we also open those invitations to them, it would also bridge this gap in communication and understanding of why certain parts of the treatment are not working, right? So yes, demographic definitely is the families, but let's not shut our doors to the other providers who could be at the table and might have the time to come and sit and participate, because everyone can learn something, right? It doesn't matter if you have a master's, PhD, or MD. We should all have this mindset that we're still students and need to learn. So structure and content of the workshop. Workshop topics. What are the common challenges that we have? Managing behaviors, accessing services. Then we have our specialized topics of mental health, education, and advocacy. And then interactive elements. Group discussions and activities are important to have on the table. What does it look like? How long will it be? Are you going to separate them, or is it going to be a collective? Let's keep our role-playing scenarios. Don't leave those out. Those are one of your most important tools we can utilize. Enacting problem-solving exercises. So, like just the short, when I work with people or even my children, I like to hear what's going on, but I will also like to pick their brains. What solutions do you possibly have? And at the moment, if they're frustrated, they might not see it. So then what I like to say, well, I heard you say this. So what I might look at or try to do in this situation is, and I try and give at least 2 to 3 examples that I could come up with now and just see if it sparks something in them. We're planting seeds. It doesn't mean what you're saying is 100% right. But in education, the most important part is not to jam it down anyone's throat. It's to plant the seeds so they come up with their own ideas or are willing to research what's worked for someone else in order to help you or other people um, grow, learn accordingly to their needs. And resource sharing. Our workshop should always provide some type of resources, whether it's going to be hyperlinks, books, or people. We don't want to just say this is what it is, and we want them to be able to excuse me, develop, see where it is, and actually go a bit beyond. And this goes for us. It's not just the families. It's just it's for us too. As we say here on Gail.
Yeah, one of the workshops too can be wellness, because a lot of times they be under so much pressure and stress from the things, and bring them together with wellness so they can get tools on how to, to handle when they're not in a group, and what other people are doing to, I think she mentioned it in the beginning, making that a part of, your group, not, giving them an opportunity. I'm gonna say it like this: let their hair down in a kind of way. So, yeah, that's what kind of, I'm just looking at that type of a workshop too. That sometimes they have so much stress on them, that they just need a wellness check. Let me put it that way.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And Tamara, a hyperlink would be, when you're trying to research something, let's say Amazon, you go to www.amazon.com. If you highlight that and drag it to a different page or a different web link, that's your hyperlink. That allows you to bring you to that site that you need for information. So the role of FPAs in facilitating workshops, right? So we draw what we stated earlier, we draw from our own personal experiences, whether if it's something that we received while we were receiving services or had no clue was about, but now we're aware. So sharing relatable stories and challenges, life experience is like salt. That's our salt reference. When you're cooking, too much salt, you can ruin the food, but just right amount, it can be heavenly, right? So that's what we're doing when we're working with our families in these workshops. We want to provide informational soul food so they can utilize these tools to become who they want to be and have the supports and strengths to be their own advocates and become their own peer supporters to people in their communities. And then we want to provide practical advice and coping strategies. We're not saying what you should do. I hear this is going on, and this is the information I have for you, and this might have worked for A, B, and C. Therefore, I'm just giving you the tools, and if you need a screwdriver, I'm not going to hand you the hammer, right? So we plan accordingly. And then create a supportive environment, encourage open dialogue and participation. Though you might be the expert on this particular thing or task, we don't want to come off as I know it all, you don't know anything, sit there, right? We want to encourage, it's important to me. I'm sure it's important to somebody else. I gather this information. What do you know? Or what don't you know? And let's try and come up as a collective so we could all be on the same page and start growing and healing together. And then we want to, through our workshops, foster a sense of belonging amongst our participants, right? They should feel they belong there. Most of us come looking for information, if we don't know it, as outsiders. We feel alone. By the end or the middle point of this presentation or workshop, they should feel like they belong somewhere and that they are not alone. If they leave this workshop and they still feel where they are, something is amiss. And we should ask what happened. What did you feel? We want to have this information to develop, right? It was whatever criticisms we get are to help improve ourselves, but most importantly, the reflection of our improved families, if we're willing to adhere and listen to what could be better. So the impact of our workshops on parents, we want to empower and give confidence building. Most of us, when we came through that front door needing service, we weren't confident, and we can look in our family's eyes, the stress, the burnt out, the pain, the agony. We want to build this confidence. We know it's there, but we also know your strengths, right? We're going to build on those. And then we want to enhance the parent skills, whatever that looks like. It might not be a parenting workshop, but each workshop that we develop and administer, skills should be a part of this, whether it's how to research, whether it's with tools, and once again, the collective with everybody in the room. And then we're strengthening their ability to support their children at the end of each workshop and the work that we do individually. How our families are strengthened to support their children is the ultimate end goal, right? So our workshop should be catering to these tools that these families are going to be better families, stronger families, a united family. And then we want to build a support network. So this is when it's a workshop, we're creating connections amongst our parents. Same with support groups too, but we're building the support network where they can figure out who's got what tools, what's working in their region, in their home. And this is something that and parents can build off. And once again, the feedback is I'm not alone. And then we're going to encourage ongoing peer support beyond this workshop. I would always encourage people to exchange emails or numbers, especially if they heard something of similar note. And in breakout groups or discussions is a perfect way for this to happen, especially if you could find connection, and people will find connections as long as they're comfortable. So I heard earlier in some of our challenges with teaching skills, I know that some people are not showing up, or there's communication barriers. Uh, Anybody else have any challenges when providing or teaching with the families you work with? Just one or two statements is fine, or you could type it in the chat. Tiffany.
Hi, sorry,
Uh,
my video's not working, but my question that I'm having is most of my parents don't have any kind of respite, like any kind of extra support to where if I were to have a group that they would be able to come alone. And I
mhm.
don't like that seems to be my biggest issue here in our area.
What area are you in?
Tompkins and Tioga County, Ithaca area.
So challenges would be transportation and
Not necessarily transportation, it's that they don't have anybody to be with their either children or
oh,
grandchildren to be able to even come to a group by themselves.
so see that now this is something we should consider, right? So when I was a youth advocate at CCSI many years ago, when we had our parent groups, we also had our youth groups. And alongside that, we made sure, at least my organization allowed us to provide this, was a room for extra help to watch the children. And that they had games, they had coloring, they might have had a movie, and they had food to house the youngsters or whoever might needed the support while the parents went in to go to these workshops or support groups. If we could talk to our supervisors, and maybe you might have to draft a proposal if it's timing, if it's personnel, if it's what that might look like. If we could get an extra room in there and some extra hands in, if the families feel safe with it, that the kids are just next door, it might be your way to be able to get this off the ground. All
Awesome.
right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Two quick ones. Maria.
Um, I was gonna suggest what I did was go through our child care council of Western New York here who provide training to families and individuals who want to provide childcare, and they have so many hours of certification they need to complete. So I asked some of them to come in and babysit while we have our support group meetings.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you put that information in the chat?
Yes. Now the Western Child Care Council, I don't know how far they go in New York State, but I'll send in the information on chat.
All right. Tamara?
My question, well, how I put it, my challenge is, now that I'm working with hearing people, I don't know why I said this, but I have to because I've been used to with deaf people because I can find so much information because we all on the same page. But with hearing, I'm pretty sure it's the same, but I'm trying to like create some community where I want to do one time in person. That's a good idea because I'm trying to work with them. I need some help, and I don't mind if you guys could give me some information, help me out.
All right, thank you. If you have any information for Tamara, please ping her either the private or in the group. Just make sure that Tamara is notified so she can gather information or provide an email so you guys can continue conversating on this issue and need. Kristen, before I move on.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, going back to the assistance with childcare, we did this personally, but I know also it could help community-wise. We contacted a local university and asked if they had any special education students that needed additional credits or classes to complete their major or an internship. And so we were able to find a young woman who was able to help us for the entire summer with our daughter. And the arrangement that we set up basically was that we provided her with meals and gas cards, but she did it for college credit. So it was technically like an unpaid internship, but she was able to get college credits for helping us with our special needs child. And I think on her end, she arranged with her, her advisor that she would write a paper on, what she learned that summer working with us. But I just want to encourage people to use resources like that, like your local universities or local daycares, to see if they would donate services or if students would do it as an internship credit. It was super helpful for us that summer. So just wanted to put that out there.
And just food for thought. I don't know. I know in New York City for sure. I'm sure certain areas outside, like in Long Island, they do. Maybe Westchester County, but libraries. If your organization doesn't have the space and you have the time, libraries. If you have a library card, they have rooms. You just kind of have to research a time, and they have additional activities going on in smaller rooms that they can house your children. If childcare is an issue for some of these trainings. I love that idea about depending on the workshop we were doing, can be a college credit, it can be an internship. I know for us is continuing education for our PEP certification. So if these things are gonna provide some type of certification, people feel good at accomplishing something, getting a certificate or something out of this as well. So these things are important and what we should be considering when we're doing these workshops. So I hear the challenges are childcare. Challenges can be transportation. Challenges can just be how to make the family feel like this is something that they can need and want. Um, so we already touched on this. Some of these topics we could consider doing a workshop would be anything that's going to help with the continuing education, or maybe an internship. Depending, I had a workshop on professionalism, What does that look like when someone's trying to enter in the workforce? These things are important. People might really be drawn to these workshops that's going to help elevate them and secure a future that they are trying to achieve. So challenges and considerations, we want to address diverse needs, all right? So tailoring content to various cultural backgrounds and experiences. These are important when we're developing these things. So that's why surveys and asking these questions are important. Ensuring accessibility for all our participants, virtual or in-person location. Managing groups dynamics and facilitating balanced participation, meaning how are we going to get families who do come, how do we get them involved? Because we don't want to be the only people talking, right? We want to hear input. We want feedback. We want to hear what's working, what's not. We discussed this a bit. So case studies and testimonials. So examples of positive outcomes from past workshops. So I guess we've heard from, I'm sorry, there's so many people in the chat, what worked and collaborating in this support group. Does anybody else have a positive outcome from a successful workshop or group they've done in the past that they don't mind sharing quickly?
I did one on conflict management, and what it did was to help them be able to talk to their providers and also the teachers without getting upset, and how to make sure that they can get their results. Because sometimes you get frustrated when you're talking to them. So one of my person said they use those skills to make sure that they could get the results and they could be heard without being, getting angry or, being frustrated.
So let me ask you, after this workshop that you did present, did you get any feedback from any of the participants?
Yeah, the one that told me that she used it at her appointment. She told me that it worked with her. She liked the suggestions that we made, how how to temper herself so that she wouldn't get upset.
Anybody else give you any feedback, or that was the only person?
She was the only one that gave me direct feedback.
All right. So important enough. I love it. Thank you for sharing. If we, towards the end, when we're about to reach the conclusion, if we have some type of poll or a questionnaire, 2 or 3 questions, and maybe it's just an open-ended comments, let's try and gather and encourage them to fill it out for you. So that way we could just, we do our job better. We could present better.
I did do a survey of what the workshop was about, and I got feedback from the survey, but I'm talking about getting back feedback from the survey is one thing, but getting an actual person who used the tool is something different, because I can go through and say yeah, but when you come back and tell me that you use the tools and this is the success that you got, I like that better.
I mean, that's very rewarding, and I completely concur. When I'm done and I hear people say, "Thank you, I'm going to use this," or "I've used something similar and this works," and maybe you should add this into it because I know this worked in this community. I'm still learning, right? And I'm still gathering information, and it's very impactful. I agree. So, what are some other barriers that we go through? Cultural and language barriers differences. I've come across where I've worked in one residential in Queens where some people would not show because I was African American. I was not Bangladeshi or Indian. I've had people come to me because similar groups, if a woman was trying to present, they wouldn't go because it's part of the culture. So what I did do was find somebody else who was a Bangladeshi background who was willing to work with me. So, and I gave them, we partnered together. So when the families saw that, they were inclined to come and they were willing to listen. And because I had someone of cultural background and knowledge, and someone that they would respect ultimately. Like, yes, it might feel, you could feel away, but don't take it personal. But I was able to get that job done. Stigma and trust issues is another one. Things might have worked in the past. Maybe they experienced bad facilitation before, or maybe a presenter made them feel away. May not want to come back to something. Resource limitations. If you're out in a rural area and it takes you about 2 hours plus to get somewhere, it's a big issue. Or if you don't have individuals to come in from the outside, or you cannot pay someone to come in who has what you need, these are issues. Time constraints. We're all got things to do. We're all going through things. Time might not be of the essence for you or them. Emotional barriers, meaning we might not be ready to confront what we need. We might be ashamed of what we might need and to vocalize this. There's so many things that it takes time, and it just might not be the workshop for them, but it could be something else. Group dynamics are another barrier, geographical barriers, and limited FPA training and support. You don't know how many people I've come across who are the only people in like 100-mile radius, and it's not enough of them to go around, and then or the organizations don't have enough to hire multiple FPAs, and because your caseload is so high, you might not be able to go to additional trainings to better your skills to help reach your families. So most parents are ashamed to ask for help. That also could be a cultural thing, right? If you're raised like I was, you don't discuss your business outside the home. So whatever happens at home stays in the home.
For me, my families feel scared to ask for help. And kind of the help comes later on when it feels like everything is crushing on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I don't think it's mostly cultural. A lot of the moms tell me that is because they just don't want to get judged by the people in the school for asking for help. And it's sad that they feel like that the schools is going to judge them if they ask for help. But that's what most of them tell me, or some of them tell me they don't want the fathers to look at them in a negative way, so they don't like to say that they need help, so the dads don't be like, well, you're weak and you can't do this for your child.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's a very true factor and statement. I know families that won't say anything because they believe that their opening their mouths might open up a child services case, like they're an unfit parent. And then again, if your partner might look at you wrong and make your parenting time harder through judgments, it wears and tears on you. You're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. So we have some solutions, right? So cultural and language differences, provide our FPAs with cultural competency training and access to translation services. I had that in my last job. I've had to work with Mandarin speaking people, Bangladeshi speaking people, excuse me if I'm unaware of the language that they necessarily speak, but to have these translation tools bridged the gap, it bridged understanding, and allowed the families to believe and know that I was there for them. Whereas I'm not just a professional telling them what to do and taking the time. And I would even learn to try and pick up specific words or phrases just to show like I'm not making fun. I'm here and I want to learn. I'm still a student at this, but my job is to support you in any way that can make you feel comfortable, so you're willing to take on the information and resources. Is going to help us together. Maria, go fast.
I did some. I recruited in my own community in that dry cleaner owner. The mother recruited her to start training to be a family peer advocate And what she did was recruit some other people now to come and we train together. And my nail spa owner, they're Vietnamese, and now they want to set up their own peer organization and provide family peer services. So they're out here, and I'm recruiting because we can't do this by ourselves.
That
We
is
weren't meant
amazing.
to do this by ourselves.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. So another solution to stigma and trust issues: create a welcoming, non-judgment environment by emphasizing confidentiality and the shared lived experience of the group. Um, by you sharing your story, other individuals sharing their stories or what has worked will help break down that stigma and will help start developing a trust if you set your boundaries and let them know where you come from and this is what you had to do, this is what you wouldn't do. It really changes the mindset of someone who's scared, doesn't want to, is unsure. Resource limitations. We want to seek partnerships with local organizations where it's not just us alone. We want to look into schools, community centers, secure funding, and have venues and materials present or at our disposal. We might not have it on us, but once again, we bring back these resources. We might not have it, but we know they have it, and this is what they've done in the past. And I could go with you. I could be on the phone with you. We're going to support them. And if time constraint is an issue, offer the workshops at a various time that works, including evenings, maybe weekends if you have the time. I used to have to work at least possibly one weekend a month if necessary to try and meet that demographic who wanted it and couldn't be there. And you just want to make sure that we accommodate the different schedules if at all possible. And if we can, provide those training slides to those who couldn't make it. And if they have any questions or concerns by going through it, they can reach out to you via email or phone, and you can provide whatever that piece of information that they did miss to keep everybody in their communities on the same or similar page. So for the emotional barriers, we want to incorporate mental health support into the workshop structure, meaning if you see, depending on the content, if the content that you're presenting might trigger someone, have your trigger warnings ahead of time. Let them know this is what's going to be discussed. If you need a moment, you can walk out the room. We could take a break. If you need to talk to somebody, we might have somebody on the side here just to kind of get you, we're not forcing you to do something you don't want to do, right? So we want to have a mental health professional on hand, providing resources or emotional well-being or a stress counselor. For your group dynamics, we want to establish a clear group guidelines. It's their group or, for the workshop. What will we do? What we won't do? How do we respect each other? What are your expectations? And then we want to make sure everyone's respected, right? Geographical barriers, expand the use of virtual workshops. Everyone might not have a laptop, but it appears to me everyone has a phone. They are free. You can use Google Meets, you can use Zoom. Obviously, you pay for that one. There's a few others, but if that's an issue, let's open those doors. And and if they don't understand technology, next time they come in, or maybe it's something you could do on the phone, walk them through it, how to utilize it so they can be a part of stuff. They won't miss anything. And then live for limited FPA training and supports. It's up to our supervisors and the organization, but this try and provide ongoing professional development opportunities. This include advanced trainings and facilitation, conflict resolution, in specific content areas of interest. So if we don't know, let's go train ourselves on it. Let's do some research. Once again, let's bring it back home to make sure it's acceptable. Make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's in order to have the right training information and support while we do this work.
Right.
So this is summing up, I kind of want to leave room for questions and answers. This is just my questions to the team for future stuff. We do have polls that we administer and pass out for this, but this was just a question. It does. You don't have to answer this one. If you have questions or do you want to contribute, here's the time. Thank you for being a part of this. But any questions or comments or concerns that I might not have hit on that is important for you to hear or have resources to gather this information?
Yes, I would like for us to see if we could start working on, because I notice a lot of my parents tell me that they don't know their rights as a parent.
That's a good
They
one.
struggle to know that they able to do specific things that for us, like for us, because we lived experience, we've been our resource guides and stuff like that. It would be common sense for us, but for them, they like, I have no idea I had that right to be able to do these things for my, for my son or my daughter. Oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, you're a parent, you have all the rights in the world. You just have to educate yourself on the specific rights that you can cater for your child so that you could give your child the education and the opportunities that they deserve.
I think that would be an awesome workshop have you thought about creating something or done a support group on this matter?
I just wanted to gather enough information because you don't want to go into blind with these workshops because they might hit you with certain questions that if you don't know the answer to, you don't want to feel like you don't know what you're doing, but at least know where you could direct them to get the proper answer. So I want to kind of be there before I start trying to open up a workshop. So they hit me with any questions. If I don't have the answer, I can at least hit them with you could go here to get the proper answers that you need so that you could get proper guidance, and not just be like, well, I don't know.
I agree, because sometimes you don't know, and it's okay
No.
not to know. You know what I mean? But what's not okay is to say I don't know and keep it moving.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do agree with
True.
that. But if you really don't know and don't have the resource, take note of that and let this person know, get their contacts or whoever else is interested, and
Yeah.
let them know. I will do my best to research this and I will get it back to you as soon as possible because I'm interested in knowing this. And sometimes these parts or questions don't cross your mind because it's never come to you. But that doesn't mean there's not room to grow. And I've told people that I said, I'll get back to you at a later time or email me your question or I'll take it down now. What's your email or phone number if you don't have one? And therefore, I'll do my best to get back to you with the right information or the right resource for you to contact. And we could do this. And there's people like, I have peers who will ask me to go over their workshops. If they have any questions, do you think I'm missing anything? And I just give it a generalized, it looks good. This could possibly be here. Are you looking for? I ask questions upon questions to make sure I'm providing you with the right answers that you came to me for. And you take or leave what is going to work for you. But
Yeah.
I have no problem doing that.
You're totally right. And I think it should be vice versa as well for the youth because when I used to work for the United Nations, they had a whole organization for children's rights because children don't know what are their rights as well because you have a
Mhm.
lot of youth that they go through sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, all sorts of abuses, and they don't even know they have the rights to at a certain age they can be emancipated and they can go do
Mhm.
something for themselves and they don't have to stay there in that household and endure that suffering and that pain. So I feel like the rights go hand in hand for families of parents and also for the youth that need to know like you have rights just as a citizen alone.
You're absolutely right. And funny because I was talking about this with somebody the other day. And it is real and it's our job. If we have it and it comes up, let's do our research, let's get this information out there. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
even write an article if your organization does bulletins or article writing. If
Yeah.
you feel up to it, I do that on part of my work here. I write articles based on some stuff that has come up, and it's important for us to reach our families and make sure that they know.
Yeah. And I found out that even immigrations have rights. The immigrants have their own rights because I'm helping a mom now through the process of trying to see if she could get legal help and help with her documents I found an organization that helps Mexican families nonprofit for free in Brooklyn. And they also help families that pass the border and are separated from their children. And they also have rights. Just because you cross the border illegally doesn't mean you don't have no rights. Even illegal immigrants have rights, and they don't even know that.
No, you're absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. You brought up awesome points that many of us are not aware of or once again thought about because it hasn't been brought to our table. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
Kristen.
listening.
I feel like, and if you've done one already, obviously I'm a little bit newer, so I may have missed one in the past, but I think helping families identify supports is super helpful because a lot of our families come from generational trauma, and so you'll be working with a family who doesn't quite trust like their own parents to necessarily come in and be on the same page and help, or they don't have siblings, or they don't have. They live in a very rural area where they don't have a lot of friendships. And so I think a lot of our families struggle to find like those natural supports even. So just helping families identify where supports could be found, or maybe how to help educate their natural supports so that they're more on board. I think I run into that a lot. So, well, you can't just tell them, well, why doesn't grandma just babysit the other kids while you do this? Because they don't have those relationships in their families. So I think something tailored to that, just identifying your supports when it feels like you don't have any would be super helpful. And if you've done one in the past and it's in the library, even just knowing that would be super helpful.
Thank you. Anybody else before I pass it over to Carrie Ann?
Hey, I just want to thank TJ, thank everybody for coming. I have a few more announcements. If you could just hold on for just a few more minutes. TJ, could you stop sharing the slides for just a moment?
Sure.
So I wanted to just talk about our upcoming events. So we do hold these TA trainings every month. So our next one will be in February, and I'm going to share my screen briefly. And I'm going to put this in the chat. This is our flyer for our regular month events that we hold. So next month we have a lived experience cafe. If you're not registered, there is a link and a QR code for the registration. We hold these every other month on the first Tuesday from 12 to 1:30. It's an affinity space for FPAs, and it's a place where we can just chat about challenges, questions, successes. You can get support from other FPAs around the state and from us at Families Together. And towards the end of the cafe, we also do a brief, small continued education presentation for you. We have a supervisor experience cafe. Now, this is only open to supervisors of FPAs. So if you are a supervisor, this is the cafe for you. We had our first one in 2025 this week on Tuesday, and our next one will be in March. And we also have our monthly TA trainings, which is what you guys are on now. So our next one will be the third Friday in February, which I don't have the calendar in front of me, which will be the 21st of February from 10 to 11:30. Our presentation next month is going to be Brad Hansen, who is our director of policy, talking about the budget season and what's going on in Albany that is impacting families and the Families Together's efforts in that. So that is always very well attended, lots of great information. He'll also be talking about our Family Empowerment Day that's coming up in March. And then the second part of this flyer talks about our Family Advocate Credential Advisory Committee. This is open to any FPA that holds a professional credential. And this is a committee that helps us to advise on all things credentials. So the training, the core training for the credential, these continued education types of trainings. They also help us with looking at applications that are not clear whether or not they are qualified to become a FPA, and also any code of ethics violations that we may get. They help us with that. So there's a link to an interest form for that committee as well. Stop sharing. I'm going to put this in the chat. I'm also going to put in the chat a link to a survey for this event that we would love for everybody to just take a few moments. It's very quick survey. I think we only have like maybe 5 questions on it. We try to make it really, really brief for you. Sorry, I'm just putting in the survey. So there's a link to that survey. Joanna from our department will be sending out an email within a week to everybody who attended here, that will have a PDF version of the slides that TJ used. It'll also have a link to that survey if you're not able to do that right now. And it also will give you credit for continuing education for your professional renewal, if you need that. So I thank everybody for attending. Really hope to see you next month for both the Lived Experience Cafe and the and our next TA call. The Lived Experience Cafe next month is on February 4th from 12 to 1:30. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and have a great 3-day weekend if you have Monday off.
Good weekend.
Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Okay, TJ, I think either you or Ashley were putting people in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a couple too. I'm like, all right, it's time to go, guys. They're just waiting for us to end it, I think.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, with these recurring events, we reuse the same Zoom link over and over again.
Okay.
So if you ever need to like kick somebody out, don't just kick them out, put them in the waiting room, because if you kick them out of the meeting, it breaks their link, so they can't use it again. They would have to re-register.
Okay.
So anytime that somebody needs help like leaving or they're just not leaving, just put them in the waiting room and then eventually they'll click the button and leave.
Very nicely done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's great job, TJ.
Thank you. Thank you. Like this would be great if I could do this in person though, because I mean I really wanted this to kind of be more interactive, and you know, but we're working with the time we have, and I thought it was really good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, good feedback.
Yeah, I think as it got going, there was some really great questions and discussion around the topic. At the beginning, some of the questions and discussions had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And I'm thinking, Lived Experience Cafe, guys, like that's definitely, no, we give you space for this.
We definitely do.
Go to it. This is not the place for it. But you handled it well. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, one way to end it.
Thank you for
And
letting
I
me
will,
watch.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna do earlier because my times, because I was still stuck on 1 o'clock. So that's why I had a time slot, make sure I had all the slides and then put the events in. And we're like, you're coming in, right? I'm like, oh.
Hey,
I
yeah.
apologize. I would be really
No worries, no worries at all. I'm actually, I just made myself a note. I'm gonna put in our important info for staff Excel book. I'm gonna work on adding a page of beginning and ending slides that our event should have, so that as you're like building it, you guys can take a look and be like, did I forget any slides that we need?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I keep adding more and more slides, like make sure you put this slide at the end, make sure you put this slide beginning, make sure, so let's make a list of them.
All right, sounds good.
But great job.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you very much. Oops, I was trying to get in. Look. Anyways. Well, I will talk to you all later, I guess.
All right. Have a nice 3-day weekend.
All right.
All right.
See you at the staff meeting.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.